Hello, this is the Werewolf channel. My name's Louis, I'm the moderator. If you subscribe to the channel and like and comment and all those things, you are in with a chance to win a PlayStation 5. I'm going to take another draw on February the 16th. We already gave one away to Jeff Daniels in October, who seemed to be very happy with it. So please like and subscribe, and you could win a PlayStation 5. Now, let's carry on with stories of Will, our real werewolf. Hello, this is Will the Werewolf, and I'm continuing with episode 2 of when I picked up my Hitchhiker, Werewolf and the Hitchhiker. Please go back and check out episode 1, because otherwise this won't make very much sense. I've been travelling down from Aviemore to Manchester. I'd had a lot of fun in Aviemore, and on my way down, I'd just luckily been given this little sweet gift of a girl on the side of the road. So, hopefully you'll go back and listen to episode 1. If you don't, well, that's up to you. Please subscribe, like, do the belly thing and all those kinds of stuff if you would. That really helps. She had really felt uncomfortable in the silence that had been the moment when I'd communicated with my wolf soul, my posit. So I quickly tried to engage her in frivolous nonsense. You can control the heat of your seat just here if that helps you dry out a little. Your jeans are wet through and yours must be very itchy and cold. I actually felt a little bit creepy saying that, as it had seemed I was paying her body too much attention. Why did I feel uncomfortable? I rushed on slightly uncomfortably again, and slightly too obviously. You can also control the temperature of your side of the car using these controls here if you want, I said, as I pointed out the fake switches and dials on the funky touchscreen controller. I did tell you I'd bought a brand new Land Rover Defender, didn't I? I bought a brand new Land Rover Defender. Anyway, I've never been in a car like this before, she said. It's like a spaceship. Then she laughed. It was a very innocent sound that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. I touched the screen secretly and set her chair's massage features on. I set it to lower back massage, and she giggled and wiggled in her seat, moving her hips back and forth in what I have to say was quite an arousing manner. It almost made me crash at one moment as I lost my concentration on the road. Gathering myself, I just focused on what was happening. It was so entertaining as she continued to smile, wiggle and giggle in the moving seat. She now played with the massage settings of the chair herself, and in that chair she moaned and laughed some more. I tell you what, many people would have paid extortionate amounts of cash to watch this over the internet. I caught myself enjoying her enjoyment. I was genuinely laughing and smiling at her pleasure as she explored each of the crazy settings. This was weird. Whilst fiddling with the controls, she must have accidentally added the heated seat into the mix. She suddenly stopped moving and went very quiet, and with a little look of shock on her face, looked at mine. I hope I don't make you think I'm rude, but it almost feels like I've peed myself. I'm all wet and warm, she innocently stated. For fuck's sake, sent my exasperated posit from the back seat. Are we in a 1950s farce here or what? I ignored him and laughed and smiled in the enjoyment of her silliness. She was fun. I was having fun with a human that didn't involve torture. Posit lifted his head and looked at her, then turned and looked at me. Fuck's sake, Fen, kill it now. Fucking kill it now, please. She stopped moving as her concentration had gone from the seat and onto me for a while. She was biting her bottom lip in a far too sexy manner for such a young girl. I could sense her thinking about questions that she wanted to ask. She just did not know how to start the conversation. In her discomfort, she slid her hands up and down the leather-covered armrests on either side of her seat. Oh God, this strangely was one of the most erotic things I'd ever experienced, and I've been part of some of the most outrageous sexual experiences that you could not imagine. You couldn't imagine them. Looking down at her own feet and then raising her eyes to the car's rearview mirror, She locked her vision into mine, and she hardened her resolve and spoke. My name's Sally O'Neill, she said, offering her hand to me. I looked at the offered hand, not realising that she actually wanted me to shake it. I was a little confused at first. Oh. I took her hand, which was small and soft with skin like silk. I could have easily crushed it to... My name is Fen Werewolf, I told her, and I shook her arm gently. Call me Fen, I said. Fen. Yes, I like that. I will call you Fen. I let go of her hand and returned in silence to look at the snowbound road. She sat and stared at me for a long time. I could almost sense the questions forming in her brain as she sat and contemplated and answered most of her questions herself. Saying nothing, she suddenly started to rub her legs and squirm more in the seat, but this time not in a fun way. The damp and the cold must have given her an uncomfy situation in the leg and crotch areas. I could sense her discomfort, and I realised that her cold, wet flesh must now be reheating and becoming extremely itchy. I quickly pulled over to the side of the road in a lay-by. She noticed, and her muscles solidified in her body. I could feel the fear build inside her. I could only imagine what she thought I had on my mind. I got out of the car without saying a word and returned with a big blanket, a spare pair of sweatpants and a pair of boxer shorts. I also brought her a big baggy t-shirt and the biggest, baggiest, snuggliest hoodie I could. Was I caring for her? Oh, shit. Why don't you change into these? We can dry your things in the back as we drive. You should be ready to go by Perth. I passed her the blanket and then placed the clothes on her lap. She just sat there for a while looking at the pile of clothes and then at me. It was as though she was making some kind of huge decision about what she was going to do. I made this decision then a little easier by asking her a question. Would you rather I stayed on the outside of the car while you changed? I asked. She looked at me with her mouth open and a sweet little O. An unexpected O. It did things to me, as though my question was a bit too, nice. She obviously was not used to choosing what to do, but was always told what to do. I wanted to wait for a response, and I did, as I stood in the snowfall. It gathered on my hair and my back and started to gather in the footwell of the car. She shook her head, smiled, and patted the driver's seat, as if asking for me to get back into the car and sit with her as she got dressed. I didn't think that she was used to being treated like an adult. Cool, I said as I sat back in the car. I'll get us back on the road again if that's alright. Only get changed if that's what you want to do, but you must be really uncomfy there, and to be honest, my leather could do without your little wet arse marking it, I said, as I laughed. She giggled in response and dived under the blanket where I could hear unzipping and rummaging taking place as I indicated and took myself out into the limited traffic on the road. After a good 10 minutes of rummaging from the blanket-covered seat, the cover fell to her lap and she looked up at me, her face full of gratitude as she sat swamped in my hoodie. She looked so fucking cute I could have eaten her right there. And I don't really mean in the werewolf sense of the word. I had no idea what was happening. Was I having nice feelings for a human? Oh, thank you for your kindness. Others on the road have not been so kind. One man tried to, I had to bite his fingers a bit to stop him and run away from the car. It was horrendous, she muttered, her eyes falling to her lap. Well, to be honest, Sally, you really should not be out in this weather on these roads by yourself. I mean, how old are you, Sally? She paused. Her body language developed a defensive decorum. 21? The answer was a little too prepared and a little too quick to be genuine. I smiled as I looked at the road ahead. Why are you smiling, Fen? She asked, a little tone of hurt in her voice. Well, to be honest, it's nothing to do with me, but if you're 21, then, I'm a fucking werewolf, I said, and she giggled at this in a very un-21 way, like it sounded much younger mirth. Why a werewolf, Fen? Well, it's unlikely as you being 21, I replied. If I correctly guess your age, would you be honest enough to tell me? I asked. No lies. She looked at me a little worried, then nodded and smiled, turning her attention once more to the heating controls on the touchscreen. I agree to that, she said in an overacted, deep voice. Well, I said, taking a deep inhalation of assent, I think... She's 17, butted in the bored thoughts of my posit. She's fucking 17 years old. Jesus, I can smell her age from here, he sent. I looked at him and his general pretense of disdain and indifference and how it had been broken by the need to know the answer. I reckon, Sally was it? She nodded. That you are 17 years of age. I reckon that you were born in the autumn, maybe October, the end of October. There was a long silence as she looked out the side window. I could sense that she was getting nervous about how I would react when I found out. Her body language became more defensive as she hugged herself, hiding her hands in the long sleeves of the larger-than-large hoodie. Yes, she said. October 27th, to be honest. I am 17, yes, but please don't phone the police on my family. I can't go back. It was... Her voice faltered and her eyes, which were so beautiful, became wet with tears of sadness. You're caring for this one, Will, said Fen. She sat hugging herself for some time while I drove, and while I thought about my next move. Sally, I can sense that you've had a really tough time of it. I have no intention of telling the police or your family. In fact, I've decided, do you know what? I'll drive you to Manchester myself. How does that sound? I could go down and see my family, I lied. From her closed body language, I could see that she was not sure about this. She stared at me. Those shining emerald eyes were fixing me like the very pins that attach butterflies to the board. Then smiling, and again looking out the side window, she said very confidently, I think that I would like that very much, Fen. You seem a good person. You seem a what? Said Fen. Yes, Sally, it definitely seems that way, I said. I've not seen my family there for such a long time. I could drop you off and surprise them, I said. Could I meet them? She suddenly asked, reaching for her hand, a strange request that seemed out of kilter from what she should be asking. Eh? I asked, not fully understanding what she meant. She held her hand on my forearm and asked again. Can I meet them, please? I would love to meet a normal family. Mine are just so screwed up. She had me surprised and on the back foot at this point. Yeah, I kind of agreed. The posit in the back laughed out loud in my head. You going to fucking dig him up for her? Have you forgotten the fact that you murdered them in a fit of teenage rage? Ah, yes, sweet memories. Well, we'll deal with that issue in the future. I want to see where this little adventure is going to take us, Posit. I could sense his confusion and his displeasure at this. Fuck's sake, Will. Let's just eat her, please. No need for foreplay with food, he sent me back. She again looked questioningly at me. Why'd you laugh just then? Just that my family are a little bit difficult to engage with, Sally, but I will take you where they currently stay if you like. I nodded. This was going a bit weird. She smiled at me and then returned her gaze to the windscreen wipers as they battered against the oncoming waves of flakes. We both now had become lost in our thoughts as we travelled. It was a pleasant feeling having her there. It did not feel strange or unwanted. It was actually nice. We sat in silence, but neither felt that we had to talk to each other or interact. After some unknown length of time, Sally turned to me. Do you have a phone charger for an old iPhone? She asked. No, I'm afraid not, but you can use my phone if it's important. No, it's fine. No one cares. They probably don't even know that I've gone yet, she mumbled under her breath. Posit laughed. This is just too perfect, Will. Something is gonna go so fucking very wrong for you soon. Believe me, it's gonna go. It's gonna be a fucking Will story. I promise. Just kill it, please. You're starting to like it, for fuck's sake. It's a human. Remember, they kill wolves and shit. You know, rag and all that. Remember, you know how we ate humans and stuff. So, What does a man who drives a car like this do for work? She asked over the top of the ranting posit. I decided to tell her the truth. I'm retired. I used to be a hitman and a spy. Now I am an artist, philosopher and general man of leisure. Oh, and I have a lot more money than is good for any one person. She listened and stared at me for a while after I spoke. I believe you, even though that sounds arrogant, she eventually said. She turned her head away and said, Don't know if I like arrogant, to be honest. Oh, is that it? No more questions? I smiled, using my best smile. She replied in a very childish manner. So, why are you hitchhiking in the middle of winter by yourself? I asked. Do you not have any concept of personal safety? You get into a car with a very handsome stranger whom you have no idea about. I mean, I could be a rapist or a killer or maybe both. No, you're not, she said, chewing on the sleeve of my hoodie. I can just tell. Well, if you are, then you are. You're not going to hurt me. I can see it in your eyes. You're too interested in seeing what is going to happen here. You might be those things, but not with me, she smiled and looked back at the dashboard. And she then started to get back to playing with her chair's massage functions. I was dumbstruck. I had no answer to this because she was in fact right. I sat in thought as the posit now rolled around in fits of laughter in the back of the car. Outdone by a little girl. She's great. Fuck it, let's keep her, he said. You got any music? She butted into my thoughts. I do, yes. What do you want to hear? I replied. Got any baby metal? She asked. Nope, never heard of them. But this is your opportunity to get a musical education, you lucky young thing. This is Led Zeppelin. This is where we start our journey. Oh, and not with the obvious Stairway to Heaven, but with Black Dog, my song. You only like it for the fucking name, said my posit, but he was soon lost in the music himself. He has great taste in music, just like me. I let the very superior stereo do its thing and let the Land Rover rock out the tune. I air-drummed and sang along with no concern of what the girl might have thought of me. I was having a lot of fun with this human, and it did not involve hurting her. It was weird. Sally at first held still with a look of disgust. She gave me the thumbs down and pointed at the stereo, then laughed and joined me in my stupidity, using her phone as a pretend microphone. Then it ended and she looked at me. I'd give it 5 stars, she said. I nodded in agreement. Out of 27, though, she said. What kind of fucked up scale is that? I asked. That's the Sally scale, she replied. It used to be out of 10, and then the Beebs. Yeah, embarrassingly, I know. Well, he got a 10, so I had to extend my scale to 20. And then Miley broke the barrier, so I had to go to 25. And then K-pop happened, and things got crazy. I keep adding stars when necessary. Seriously, Black Dog only scores a 5? I laughingly asked. Okay, she said, raising her hands in pacification. I've rethought it all. I will give it a 4. She sat, smiling, her chin on her hand, and she winked. I then took her through my favourite songs and we had a lot of fun as she spent her time ripping musical legends apart one after another. It was so much fun and so unexpected to be fun. I did not get angry at her jibes. I joined in and laughed at the fun. This little childish dainty was making me enjoy her in a way that I would never normally have expected. Eventually she paused Hendrix and sat in a pretend huff. Okay, I'll bite, Sally. What do you want to listen to? Well, to educate you old folks, and with your sad palette of poor music, I think we should listen to Da Da Dance by Baby Metal. This is a musical this is their musical peak, the best it can get. Okay, Horatio, I said out loud to seemingly no one. Yes, sir, answered the car's computerized assistant in a very posh upper crust accent. Please find Da Da, Dance, she mouthed. Dance, Horatio, old chap. At once, sir, said the AI. The tune was found, and it was truly awful. I mean, truly awful, but we laughed about it and had fun as we bantered back and forth about the music. I was having real innocent fun, and it was very worrying. I turned the music off, We're just coming up to the house of Brewer. It does good food. Are you hungry? I asked her. She looked at me and smiled, giving me an over-exuberant nod. I also need a wee fin. That was part 2 of the Werewolf and the Hitchhiker. Hopefully you'll continue on to part 3. Please check out the other videos on the YouTube channel. There is a podcast that is available. It's on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, you name it. It's if you want to listen to these just in audio form, go for them as well. Seems to be going quite well at the moment. Any support would be great, okay? And soon, I've given up on the website. The website keeps being killed. So I'm going to try and start a Facebook group for Will. Maybe people will come and join me on the Facebook group. If any of that sounds interesting, please comment below. And we'll take it from there. Sending lots of love. Bye.